Hi guys, it's Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing and I'm here with another video. So I didn't actually get that much read this week, just had a really busy week this week and there's just loads of different things on, and as you guys know I went to Deptcon as well in Dublin and I posted up vlogs of that, so I will leave that link to those vlogs if you want to just check out what was happening during that. And then I also posted a video about my readathon that is happening on November 6th to 13th, which is the rereadathon, and it's basically a readathon based about reading your favourite books or just rereading books again. And I will leave all that video as well as the challenges and stuff linked as well. The first book I finished this week I talked about briefly last week and I finished it on Sunday, and it's Strawgirl by Jackie Kay. This is about a little girl called Maybe, and her real name is Molly but her nickname is Maybe, and she's living in Scotland and her mother is Irish and her father is Nigerian, so she's biracial, and it's basically just about her dealing with different things in her school life and her home life. She deals with some bullying in school, and it's kind of a journey of her accepting herself and accepting her heritage and stuff like that, and it's really enjoyable. And the theme of this is kind of like that her father dies and she's feeling really lonely, and then one day this little girl made of straw appears on Maybe's farm and ends up becoming her best friend. I really enjoyed this. It was weird, it kind of reminded me of The Little Vampire, and I think it might be because it's like set in Scotland, a rural area. This little girl is feeling very alone, and then this straw girl comes along and she can like fly, and there's a really big emphasis on cows in this, by the way, because Maybe's farm keeps cows and all the cows have different names. And if anyone's watched The Little Vampire, there's like bits of it with clips of it with cows, and I don't know, I just kept thinking about The Little Vampire when I was reading this. And it also reminds me a little bit of Pete's Dragon, where, you know, this magical kind of creature appears when Maybe needs her most, and she's kind of there for her when she has nobody else. And yeah, it was just really enjoyable. It was really great. I loved kind of Maybe's own journey in accepting who she is and where she came from and where her father came from, and how, you know, she can be Scottish but she can also be Nigerian as well, and particularly the tribe that her father is from, and she just learns that that's okay, that, you know, that's a really beautiful part of herself, and, you know, she can be kind of everything at once, and it was just really enjoyable. So I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I finished, it was a buddy read, and I read it with Ali over the Little Librarian, and I will link her below, and it was Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and J. Kristoff. I always say in my head J. Kaufman and Amy Kristoff, and I know that's wrong. So yes, this probably doesn't even need an explanation because this has been doing the rounds in BookTube. Pretty much everyone knows what it is, but it's basically a sci-fi story, a YA sci-fi story, where this kind of planet gets destroyed and these two kids end up on these two different ships, and they have a relationship. They have like a past relationship. There's kind of this tension between them, but then it ends up being up to them to kind of save everyone on the ships when this terrible thing happens, and it's just full of adventure and science fiction obviously and AIs, and it's a bit crazy. And obviously this is told in like a really different format where there are like logs and like IM conversations and stuff like that. It's kind of compiled into a big report, and you're kind of trying to figure out what is going on. I have been really nervous about reading this because I thought because of the format I wouldn't like it, and I'm glad I finally got around to reading it. I definitely didn't like it as much as some people like it, but I ended up finding the format really easy to follow along with, and it made the reading of it a lot faster at some points. Like some chapters, like some pages don't even really have anything on them to read or just have a couple of sentences, so you can end up flying through the book a lot faster than you think you do. I wasn't completely crazy about like the characters themselves in these books. Like they were okay, but they were definitely not my favourite characters, but there were definitely some moments in this that left me like, oh my god, what is going on, and I just couldn't put it down. Just some of these revelations that just blew my mind, and I just needed to find out what happened, and definitely a page turner, so definitely did its job in that sense. I definitely wouldn't like all my books to be in this format, as it does get a little bit tiring sometimes. I just, like, you know, I do like to go back and read just like a normal book. I really enjoyed it being a buddy read as well, because there were those moments where we were like, oh my god, what the hell is happening? So I really enjoyed that, and yes, so I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Skin by Ilka Tampe, and I read this with Mel over at Bookish Mel, and I will leave her channel linked down below as well. And this is basically a kind of fantastical historic story set in Celtic Celtic Britain, and it follows this girl called Aelia, and she basically lives in this tribe where they have something called skin. And skin comes from like your mother and your family, and it's kind of like this specific thing that is given to you by your mother through song. And it's basically like people can be like skin of the owl, skin of the deer, skin of the dog, skin of the salmon. So they have like an affiliated creature as well. So there's like all these different tribes, but there's also these kind of littler tribes where people are skin of different animals. And Aelia basically was left on the doorstep of this kitchen when she was a newborn, so she doesn't know who her mother is, so she doesn't have a skin. She is known as unskinned, and because she is unskinned, she is basically kind of like the lowest of the low in this tribe, and she doesn't really have any prospects. She can't have an education, she can't really learn anything that will kind of really benefit her in her adult life. And Aelia, when she turns about 14 or 15, and she starts really wondering who she is. She starts, you know, just kind of exploring different things, thinking about different things, and then there is the threat of the Roman Empire is growing closer and closer and closer to the tribe, and they have this really big fear that they are going to be taken over by the Roman Empire. And Aelia ends up having to help her tribe, and it turns out that the goddesses that they follow, who they call the mothers, they kind of have a bigger plan in store for Aelia. Most of this book I absolutely enjoyed, and I really loved it. It was kind of one of those books where within 10 pages I knew I was going to love it, just even the way it was told, the way the description was, the way Aelia's tribe was described. I was like, yeah, I really love this book. I'm really going to love this book. I really enjoy the fact that there are so many strong female leadership characters in this, and it was just so wonderful. Aelia herself is a really strong, great character. Obviously I said her tribe queen is a woman, obviously it's tribe queen, but she is a very strong character. She's the leader, and people have to, you know, listen to what she says. And there's her cook mother, who is obviously a very strong female character. The mothers themselves, the goddesses themselves, are women, are female. Yeah, so the kind of priestesses, who are called journey women, they are kind of more esteemed than the journey men, and I just loved that. It was just really great. There was also this really great thing where they kind of, like this Beltane festival, and the women basically, when they came of age, which is kind of like the year after they like first bled, they were able to do this kind of ritual, and they're able to choose a man that they could bed after that festival. And there was this just like real thing about like you're owning your own sexuality and owning your own body and making those choices for yourself. And it was just really refreshing, and it was really great to be able to see all these women, and Aelia herself being able to explore her own body in a way where she wasn't ashamed for, you know, not being virginal or not keeping her maidenhood or anything like that. Most of this book, 99% of this book, was perfect, and I loved it, and I was almost going to be a 5 stars except at the end. The end just really disappointed me. I just wasn't crazy about it. I just felt really depressed, I think, after the end. It just didn't end the way I wanted it to be. I just kind of felt like Aelia had this really amazing journey, and like she was going up and up and up, and then she kind of just like fell down, and I was just kind of like, why did she go through this whole journey and then this thing happened at the end? And I'm just like, but like why? Like why did she have to go through all of this for that to happen? And yeah, so obviously I can't say anything because there'll be spoilers, but I was just really disappointed with it, so I ended up having to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Last book that I finished was Moon Chosen by PC Cast. This is a book I got from NetGalley, and I have a very hit and miss relationship with PC Cast. I hate her House of Night series, like with everything in my body. I just hate it. I don't get along with it. I really enjoy her Partholon series, so I was going into this and I knew it could either be a complete disaster or it could be a really great journey, and unfortunately it wasn't a complete disaster, but it just wasn't good. This is based around these several different tribes in this land. I thought it was kind of a fantasy land, but then as I got into the book I felt like it was kind of our Earth, but thousands and thousands and thousands of years in the future, where kind of the age of technology has been destroyed and this new kind of era of humankind has kind of evolved, and they have all these different kind of cultures and religion and, you know, traditions and stuff like that. So you have kind of like the tribe of the trees, who live in trees, and they obviously, because they tribe of the trees, but they have these like really close they're called companions as well, and they have these relationships with these dogs, and these dogs kind of choose their owner. It's not the owners choose the dogs choose their owner, and it's like this really big deal when these puppies choose their owners, and it's like this bond where they can kind of almost read each other's thoughts and emotions and stuff like that, and it's really important, which I obviously love because I love dogs, so I really loved the whole idea of that. And then there are the earth walkers, and these are kind of people who are a little bit different. They're human, but then they kind of go mad. The males of this tribe, they can go mad, and the women become really melancholy and depressed. And there's this girl called Mary who is training to be this something called a moon woman. Her mother is a moon woman, and basically she can help. Their job is to make sure that the tribe is always washed clean, and they don't feel that way, they don't feel violent, they don't feel mad, they don't feel depressed, and it's their whole job to do this. So I can't even really say what the whole plot of this was, because we had Nick, who was with the tribe of the trees, we had Mary, who was the earth walker, and she was a little bit of half and half. She's a little bit different, and they're both going on their own journeys, but you know, at some point they're obviously going to meet up, and you know, their tribes are going to become entangled in a different way, and all this kind of stuff is happening. But they didn't meet, like they didn't properly meet until like 70% into the book, and I was just like, how is this only happening now? Like, what is going to happen at the end? So then the thing that happened at the very, very end, I kind of felt like should have happened like at 80% rather than like 98% of the book, where it could have been resolved. Like, I feel like some stuff at the end could have been resolved. It didn't feel resolved. It didn't feel even in a way that it was like a cliffhanger. It just felt like, it almost felt like it had been cut off in the middle of this big dramatic scene, and it was just really annoying. I was just like this is a bit pointless. Like, I just felt like the story dragged on and on. There was just so much build up and so much kind of learning about the different tribes and their traditions and who they are and what they are, that the characters just kind of, and their own journey kind of took a whole backseat to that. And I understand building up a story and building up the setting, but I just felt like there's way too much of it in this book. And then a lot of the dialogue, I felt like Mary is 18 years old, I think, and then Nick is 23-year-old, and then you have like some other characters who are like 16, 17, and I just felt like a lot of the dialogue was really, really, really juvenile. Like, I felt like some of the stuff that was coming out of these characters' mouths could have come out of like a 13 or 14-year-old's mouth, and I just was just like, I don't know, it just made me feel like, no, when I was reading I was just like, ugh, and I was just like skipping forward. I didn't care what they had to say. So yes, I just didn't quite enjoy this one, unfortunately. I thought it was going to be a 3-star, but because the ending was just so like whatever, I ended up giving it a 2 stars, unfortunately. Please let me know all the things that you guys read this week. I would love to know, and I'd love to know any of your comments about the books that I read. Please check out the rereadathon video if you haven't already. I would love if you could join in, as I've already said. But until then, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!